And welcome. Hello and welcome to Business Incorporated live on Channels Television. Well, the trading day is in full gear right now, but here's what's coming up in the next 55 minutes. Egypt signs 4 MOUs to boost oil and gas production. Deals involve the state-run Egyptian General Petroleum Corporation and partnering with leading firms. And Kenya restricts avocado exports by sea. Plus, South Africa launches R18M ICT research program. And it's great to have you join us. I'm Ladi Williams. Let's get a check on the commodities market. Now we see gold prices drifted higher again as safe haven demand countered a firmer dollar, while palladium hit a more than 1 month peak. So we see there gold up by 0.3%, $2,725 per ounce. U.S. gold futures, $2,738. We're still seeing this monster run there from gold continuing at this time. Let's get a check on all the metals now. Even though we see the U.S. dollar lingered near a 3-month high, we're still seeing the metals looking strong. And they have a platinum, a big 4% jump, 1,100. So these other metals are not left out from this bull run in the metals market, $33.84. That's for silver. And we have palladium, 1,025, a big 1% jump, but we see platinum there shining more than other metals that we track. We see, but for oil prices, we're seeing they also climbed about 1%. So oil gold rising today, $75.73 a barrel for Brent. But on the flip side, the U.S. grade, WTI, that's down still following this morning's trade, $71.59 a barrel. So we're seeing, all eyes right now on the presidential election amid the expectations that, we don't know where it's going to swing this time, but it's a really, really tight race. And, that's putting some investors on the edge right there. All right, let's get a check on other stories now. We see the the Nigeria's Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, believes that the country is already recording benefits from implementation of subsidy removal, which he says began October 2nd, 2024. Mr. Edun was speaking during an investors forum organized by the federal government on the sidelines on the IMF World Bank annual meetings in Washington. It says that the NNPCL now has a better chance of meeting up with its obligations. Take a listen.
In terms of NNPC and the situation, clearly the reality is that although the subsidy on May 29, 2023 was removed and was no longer on the balance sheet of the government, so to speak, it did rear its head, not in terms of petrol subsidy, but foreign exchange subsidy, which clearly was borne elsewhere and borne mainly by NNPC. And I think what I can say about their own situation is with where they are now, they have a route to paying down their payables. And I'm sure that in no time at all, they will start. And from what I understand, they have even commenced.
Taking advantage of the gathering of global decision makers from both the public and private sectors at the IMF World Bank annual meetings, Nigeria's economic managers from the monetary and fiscal authorities have invited potential investors to win their confidence through the ongoing reforms as well as possible opportunities available to them. Their conviction is in their effort to lift activities in the real sector, management of the country's foreign exchange market, and the value of the naira.
We find that something else that is important from this whole adjustment lies in the fact that now Nigerians would be more inclined to produce locally because it's a lot cheaper for them to do so rather than depend on imported goods. So that's a good thing. Then, of course, with respect to the harmonization of the rates, bear in mind that for those who are used to sending money to Nigeria, they no longer have the chore of having to find other unorthodox methods of sending their money home.
The team believes that the issues of debt accretion and servicing, as well as budget implementation, have been well managed.
Debt servicing costing nearly 100% of revenues, budget deficit of 6.5%. We got it down so far in the first half of this year. The debt service to around 60% or so of revenues, which is still eye-wateringly high, but we're coping with it, and by prioritization, of course.
Is there a level of gross reserves that you're aiming to achieve where you would be happier?
Showing keen interest in information shared, potential investors asked for more clarity in areas of interest, which span from subsidy removal and the gains of it.
It's October 2 that we had a situation where the major subsidies costing 5% of GDP, petrol subsidy and related foreign exchange subsidy, were effectively removed through a move to market pricing of petroleum. What that has meant is that it is really from then that you can look at accruing what exactly are the gains from removal. You can't have the gains from something that disappears from one place but rears its ugly head in another place.
As well as the management of financial instruments.
Differentials between OMO and T-bills. Really, the yields from OMO reflect target levels, and we are issuing more in actual fact to ensure that the transmission mechanism works as we expect it to. The divergence from the T-bills, quite frankly, is a response to the markets, and over a period of time, those should, I imagine those should adjust as we expect them to.
Another forum ends, however, whether the investors have been won over to push funds to Nigeria's economy will be noted in the coming days. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.
And yesterday, President Bola Tinubu released some ministers of their duties, appointed new ones, and also changed some appointments. We also have data on Nigeria's debt levels and foreign reserves accretion. Let's see how all of these are impacting investor sentiment. Joining us for this conversation, we have Dr. Ayodeji Ebos, MD Optimus by Afinvest. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, so it's great to have you. So a lot has played out yesterday from the World Bank, IMF annual meetings, even down here to Nigeria. But what's the word on the street about the president's cabinet reshuffle?
Okay, I think that what Nigerians I think would also just be more exciting is more on the results or looking forward to the impact. When you look at the names, these are very notable names that you would no doubt expect that there would also be impact. And so there's still, Nigerians will also be expecting more intensified efforts to begin to see how it translates into improved standard of living. So if when you look at the list, for instance, there's no doubt when you look at Dr. Jimoke, even from the last dispensation, our special advisor, she's also on ease of doing business. She's done a lot a lot of tangible things that you can lay hands on. But why Nigerians may not be too excited for now is that they will want to begin to see the result first. When we say Nigerians, we're always very good at policy formulation, but the execution, the implementation is what actually leads to the results and would also be the impact. So by and large, it's also a welcome development. I must also speak to the collapse of the the ministry, I think the Niger Delta Ministry, the Southeast, into one regional one. That's going to at least lead to a bit of at least savings and at least and also reduce the number of ministries. That's also a positive to take away from that.
So I guess it's safe to say we should see some level of reduction in the cost of governance.
No, if we look at, when you are looking at the amount that is being spent by these few ministries that made relative to the total cost, so it's just like a drop in the ocean. So yes, there will be cost, but when you look at in terms of impact, I'm not saying we should expect major impacts in cost savings.
All right, definitely. We hope, at some point we might see, serious impact when it comes to cutting the cost of governance, because we need every penny at this time. All right, let's look at other matters now. We see Nigeria's foreign reserves hit about $40.2 billion in October 2024 from $38.4 billion reported in September. And that's according to Olayemi Cardoso, central bank governor, during an investors meeting, in Washington, D.C., that's in the U.S. So I'm wondering, we're seeing accretion there with our foreign reserves, but we're not seeing the impact strongly when it comes to the Naira. Why is that?
Yeah, so I think we need to understand that the market is a function of demand and supply. So while it looks exciting that we have approached the $40 billion psychological line, but it's also important that there would be a need for the increase in supply. CBN has been intervening when you check based on the record, but there will be a need to up that supply. And once there is that supply, you would see that even from the parallel market to the official market, the spread will not be significant. And as such, we'll also not see the depreciation that, like, for instance, we've seen in the last one or 2 weeks now, based on even in the parallel market or even inflow dollars. So there's a need to increase supply while we work on the long-term sustainable way of generating FX. So the oil remittances, yes, those ones are needed, but there's a need. Is there a blueprint that shows how much of dollar we want to be generating from non-export items, so that they are measurable, that we can begin to celebrate that this year we're able to generate $5 billion and our target next year is $8 billion. So we need to begin to see that, so that we have people come into that particular space where they see the value there and they also see the opportunities. So I think those are some of the medium to long-term plans that will also help actually stabilize the FX. If not, if we work on that well, we may see even improved appreciation of the Naira.
All right. At what level do you think for the foreign reserves, what level do you think we might actually start seeing action, when it comes to strengthening for the Naira? Is it when we maybe touch 50 billion, 60 billion? What are you seeing?
I think that even at this 40 billion level is even a level that I would say it's also a comfortable zone where we should begin to see improvement in supply. If we can't get the Naira to appreciate even in the interim, we need to stop the depreciation that we're also experiencing in recent times, which would be as a result of improved supply. Yes, there are pressures, like when you look at the last NPC meeting, the CBN governor also mentioned that at certain periods when funds are released, there are pressures that also comes due to the demand. These are some of the things that even like the Minister for Finance should see what's the best way so that that pressure does not lead to or erode all the efforts that the CBN is putting in stabilizing the FX.
All right, so we know the finance minister is out there. We see the central bank governor out there too. And, with what's been said so far, do you think investors, at this annual meeting, felt some kind of assurance, regarding, piling funds into Nigeria?
Well, I won't be able to see their minds, but the main thing is that they will be looking at the FX stability is one of the major factors, and clarity around the FX environment. Then they would, before they now begin to even look at the ease of doing business. So it's good that we're also pitching and discussing, providing clarity on some of the things that have been done so far. But they would now begin to monitor results within the next 1 or 2 months. Will your FX remain at the same level? Or will I be able to predict the direction of the FX? Because when they come in at a level and the Naira depreciates, that impacts on their return. Even if we say OMO rate is high, but when you also compare what you lose based on depreciation. So I believe that these are sound minds that they will have been able to convince the potential investors. But what any major investor would be looking out for is to begin to see that results, begin to see that clarity. I was listening to, before the news on subsidy, the funds that be saved around subsidy. How can we trace them? Though it would have been good if there's a subsidy fund and we can see projects like the PTF project in those days, that when you are passing through certain areas, you can see what that savings are being used for. And I believe that will build a lot of confidence, even Nigerians, and trust that this fund that is actually being saved is also to help and ease doing business in Nigeria, and also ease the standard of living, as well as reduced cost of living. So that would have also be a better way to be able to be accountable for whatever service that is being done on subsidy.
All right, I guess Nigerians will expect that the central bank governor and the Minister of Finance will bring a lot of good tidings all the way from Washington when they get back. But thank you so much, Dr. Ayodeji Eboz, MD, Optimus by AfriInvest. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, when we come back, we head straight to the markets. Just stay with us. All right, let me take you straight to the markets now. Let's get a sense of what's playing out in Africa and most of the markets we track in a global space. And there you have it for the local bourse, 99,000, holding on to that level. This is intraday trade, 0.11% up. Is it convincing enough? We're going to find out at the close. That's in a moment at 2:30. For South Africa, 87,276 points for the All-Share Index, up almost 1%. Other markets we track in Africa, we see North Africa, they're 30,440. That's for the EGX 30. Marginal rise, 0.09%. Yesterday's close for the Nairobi Stock Exchange, 115 points, 0.42% rise. That's for yesterday's trade. Well, let's look at the fixed income market now. See Nigeria's one-year Treasury bill yield. It hit about 26.02% at the primary auction yesterday. Let's hear more now from Chuka Nwachukwu, Head Assets and Balance Sheet Management at UBA. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Ladi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, what factors would you say, contributed to this increase in the one-year Treasury bill yield? That's 26.02%, during that auction.
Yeah, thank you. Like you rightly mentioned, the 1 year printed at 20.65. But then the other maturity, the 91 day, and then the 182 days, maintained 17 and 17.5 respectively. Regarding the factors that affected the yield, first of all, the market has to react to the increase in the MPR by the CBN. Of course, as a result of trying to stabilize the price stability, and then trying to also make sure that you make the yield attractive for foreign investors to come in. And so, investors will obviously demand for higher yield. Usually by this time of the year, we expect a moderation, decrease in terms of the yield. But then because of the high inflation and then what the government CBN is doing in the in the economy in terms of increasing NPR, investors obviously will demand for higher yield, and that's what we've seen in the market this week, especially as regards with the auctions.
So how did the central bank's auction size, of October 23rd, how did that compare to previous auctions? And, what implications might this have on future borrowing?
But the auction size is as a factor of what is maturing. For example, about 374 billion matured, and then that also was sold. However, subscription was much higher, well over 480 billion. So compare it to that of last month, for example, auction, we saw a significant increase in the volume. But however, what is important is the amount that is sold. So the amount sold, was much higher than what was offered. That which indicate that the market is still liquid in terms of liquidity, even though liquidity has been very tight. We saw oversubscription, like I already mentioned earlier, for over 480 billion. And so that obviously will tell you that there's more appetite. There's still appetite by investors to try to, to invest in the T-bills market. To be honest, I mean, if you have a market where the yield is above 20%, is quite lucrative. Not minding the fact that at this level, we expect to see usually by this time of the year, we expect to see moderate decline in yield. But based on what is happening, and then of course the need to attract foreign investors, and then of course local investors, DMO as well as the CBN has to make the yield attractive, and that is why we've seen these elevated yield levels.
Right, and do you see these yields going higher in this fourth quarter?
I think that for NTB, for example, which is obviously meant for the locals, we see the yields between this level at max 21% going into the end of the year. But for OMO, which is obviously to attract foreign investors, of course, we continue to see elevated, especially around the 1 year, we see between 23 to 25%. So based on the fact that the government, like I said earlier, is trying to woo investors and of course trying to ensure that they borrow quite a significant amount before the end of the year to be able to fund some of the obligations, we still see a yield attractive. As long as the yield is attractive, we continue to see investors.
Right. All right. We'll keep watching out for how investors react going forward in the fixed income market. Thank you so much. That was Chuka Nwachukwu, Head, Asset and Balance Sheet Management, UBA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ladi. Thank you.
All right, let's get a check of what's happening with the U.S. Futures. Now we see the futures linked to the S&P 500 traded. That rose in the morning, but 0.40%. But we see the Dow Jones Industrial Average futures on the flip side, 42,727 points. That was marginally down about 0.03%. But we're seeing a lot of volatility right there. Then we see after hours trading, Tesla, that surged about 12% after the electric vehicle manufacturer beat the street's profit expectations. That was in the third quarter. And the tech giant International Business Machines, that fell more than 2% as consulting revenue narrowly missed analyst estimates there. Then we'll see the tech-heavy NASDAQ for NASDAQ futures, 20,379 points, showing the 0.79% increase. Let's get a check on Asia now. Asia Pacific markets mostly fell after U.S. stocks dropped last night. Nikkei, 0.10%, up 38,143 points. The Kospi fell about 0.72% at 2,581 points. while Hang Seng Index 1.23% down. Other markets we track in the region, that's talking about the Nifty 50, that's down about 0.15%, and the Shanghai Composite down 0.68%. So majorly, the color right there in the Asia Street is mostly red. So that's how most of those markets we track looking. But let's take it on to Europe now. Let's find out what's going on in Europe. No woman tipped to become the EU's new antitrust chief. Teresa Ribera's pledged to intensify the bloc's crackdown on big tech and foreign companies receiving unfair state subsidies. Let's hear more now from DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu. Great to have you, Chip. So what was said?
Thanks for having me. Well, Laddie, the EU's antitrust chief nominee, Teresa Ribera, said that she will push for a vigorous enforcement of the Digital Markets Act, the DMA, to deliver concrete results for European businesses and users. And she went on to add that the EU cannot afford unduly long antitrust investigations during which companies continue to benefit from their anti-competitive practices. Now, Ribera made those statements in a written response to the European Parliament, which will hold hearings for nominated commissioners in November. Now, the outgoing antitrust chief, Margrethe Vestager, has taken a tough stance against big tech, and the EU has slapped record fines for regulatory infringements during her term.
So how will it affect the tech industry?
Well, there are three pieces of legislation: the Digital Markets Act, the Digital Services Act, and the AI Act. Now, the DMA is more about antitrust and competition, so it targets 6 tech giants with the aim of preventing them from cornering certain parts of the digital market. The Digital Services Act and the AI Act are more about protecting European consumers. And while that is welcome, critics say that these rules will hamper innovation, which they say Europe desperately needs. Now, only 4 of the world's top 50 tech companies are European. The world's biggest tech firms, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, Microsoft, and Apple, are all based in the US. Europe will need to strike a balance between antitrust efforts, protecting consumers, and also fostering innovation. For instance, US tech giants are withholding their latest AI models from the European market due to regulation. Now, in June, Apple announced it would delay the release of 3 new AI-driven features to EU users due to concerns over the DMA. And Meta said it wouldn't release its Llama AI model in the EU due to regulatory concerns also. And some smaller companies, tech firms, are also worried about compliance costs.
All right, what are you seeing in the markets in Europe?
Well, Laddie, European markets are expected to be little changed today. Investors are, of course, in wait-and-see mode until the U.S. elections on November 5th. And here in Europe, when it comes to economic data, the focus will be on preliminary PMI data from Germany and France. Growth prospects here have become a growing concern among investors and policymakers. Expectations are that business activity in the bloc remained in contractionary territory, and that puts pressure on the European Central Bank to cut rates soon. Now, on Wednesday, ECB President Christine Lagarde said that the central bank needs to be cautious when deciding on further easing. Now, later in the day, the focus will shift to U.S. weekly jobless claims. And in corporate news, U.S. e-commerce giant Amazon will release its earnings today.
All right, so much earnings to look out for. Thank you so much, Chip, for giving us details what's happening in Europe. All right, to other stories now. Egypt's Ministry of Petroleum signed 4 crucial MOUs to boost oil and gas exploration and production. The deals involve the state-run Egyptian General Petroleum Corporation, partnership with leading firms, a consortium of Hassan Alam Holdings and Infinity Capital Investment, East Steel, Al-Sawadi Industrial Group, and Advanced Petroleum Services Group. These MOUs are designed to stimulate increased production from mature oil and gas fields in the eastern and western deserts, as well as the Gulf of Suez. Petroleum Minister also confirmed that this will contribute to high overall production rates and ensure that domestic energy needs are met. Minister of Petroleum noted that the agreements align with Egypt's Vision 2030 strategy, focusing on attracting investment and using modern technologies to boost production and meet domestic energy demands. All right, let's get a check on the livestock market now. Let's see how it's playing out. We know turkey, a popular source of protein and consumed mainly by upper-class Nigerians, with its demand peaking during the festive seasons like Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. The price of turkey has increased by 36% year on year and is currently trading at about 7,200 naira per kilo. It's up from 5,300 naira. Let's bring in Tommy Jawole now to bring us up to speed. Great to have you. So what's responsible for this increase, more increases as usual?
Thank you for having me, Ladi. You know, Nigeria is currently in an inflationary environment, so it's hard to find a commodity whose price has not increased, in the past 2 or 3 years. Turkey in particular, in October 2022, was going for about 3,500 naira per kilo. Then in 2023, it was going for about 5,200. Now it's going for about 7,200. And if we continue with this trend of 2,000 naira every year, we might be buying kilo for about 9,500 per kilo in 2025. Hopefully we don't reach there. The main factors that have driven the inflation in Nigeria, we all know, increase in price of petrol. That is affecting the cost of operation and transportation. And then we also have, increase in the importation because of the exchange rate depreciation. So the inputs that we're using for production are also going up. But the hope is that by the time we reach next year, Nigeria is already going to be on the path of recovery where we are more resistant to these external shocks, and we are able to lower the risk of having all these economic shocks. But in the next 2 or 3 months, we might see an increase in price, and the reason is because turkey has a cultural significance in Nigeria. Most times it's used in celebrations and also as a gift in festival season. So as Christmas is coming, we might see an increase in demand for turkey, and if there's no ease in all these supply chain constraints, that's going to put an upward pressure in the price.
And talking about, Christmas coming, do you think, the average consumer will still stay resilient, these holidays coming?
Yeah, so, when it comes to turkey, consumers of turkey are not consuming turkey because it's cheap. Because, some will actually even say turkey is a luxury or commodity. So, most of the consumers, the segment of people that consume turkey are usually like in the middle income, upper income level. So they are not that price sensitive. Those consumers are not that price sensitive. Of course, because of the price increase, there may be a shift to demand, but it's going to, the commodity is more towards the inelastic side. So we might just see a little bit change in demand. We expect the demand to be resilient. Then again, just the fact is that turkey is not the only thing increasing. The substitutes that they might have as well gone to the prices of those substitutes are also increasing. So there's nowhere to run to. If you like turkey because you like turkey, you're going to consume turkey. Most people that consume turkey is not because it's cheap.
Right, nowhere to run. Quite an interesting one there. But let's look at inputs now into the poultry industry. We know the price of feed, that's also on the rise with a surge in maize and sorghum. How much is this going to make price go even higher, or is there some kind of hope that the price of feedstock can actually come down at some point?
Yeah, so for poultry, when it comes to poultry farming, feed is actually a major part of the cost of production, about 60 to 70%. So we are seeing all this rise in the price of feeds because of maize, sorghum, and of course this is going to lead to increase in the price of turkey. We might see this by the time, if the import duty waiver comes in, we might see a little bit of ease in the prices of maize. But that's not going to stop the rate of increase. It's not going to bring price down to what it was before. We need more structural approaches to ease the prices. But we believe that Nigeria is on a solid path to that. And in the near term, we see an end to the price increase. When we're talking about the price of every commodity going up again.
I won't lie to you. I'm tired of all these price rises. It's become so exhausting. All right. So if I cannot buy, say, beef because it's too expensive, if I can't get chicken, if I can't get turkey, if I can't get fish, what other protein is out there for me?
Yeah, so we were coming back to Turkey again. We said people that consume Turkey don't usually consume Turkey because of the price. But if right now with the way things are going, we expect people to become more price sensitive. You were not price sensitive before. Now you have no choice but to become price sensitive. So chicken, of course, is always cheaper compared to Turkey. Beef is cheaper compared to Turkey. Of course, the price also going up, but way cheaper compared to Turkey. But for those who still have exotic taste and still have the income capability, people, other substitutes for Turkey are still like duck and ram, even though again the price of all commodities are going up. But if that is your preference, that's the way we are becoming more price sensitive. There egg is also on the rise, but we have fish, and there are several categories of fish that are more towards lower price level.
I guess at this point I'll just go to the rivers and try to catch my fish myself at this point. But what policies do you think the government can take at this time to save the average consumer before Christmas?
Yeah, so well, for strategies, there's the long term, there's the short term. If we're looking before Christmas, that is going to be the short term. It's going to be straight up just providing really, really subsidized feeds for the poultry, or even just subsidized product itself, just providing subsidies. We've always complained about the cash transfer programs, but this, if we're going for the short term, in the short term, if they're implemented well, they will definitely ease the cost of living. But more than the short term, we have to think about the long term. Nigeria is at a point where we need to think more beyond the short term and start thinking of the long term. We need to actually meet this at the structural level, where we need to improve the business environment for the agricultural sector in general.
All right, definitely. We're hoping for a white Christmas at this point. Thank you so much, Tomiwa Ajowole, analyst, financial directors company. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get a check on some other stories now. We see Kenya's horticulture directorate has temporarily halted exports of avocado varieties, including Furt, Hass, Pinkerton, and Jumbo, in order to prevent the harvesting of underripe fruits and possible blacklisting by international buyers. Effective as of 25th of October, the decision applies to sea shipments for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. According to a directive, companies will still be allowed to export by air as long as shipments are cleared following inspection and traceability information provided for all consignments. The measure is designed to uphold the high standards of Kenyan avocado exports and is expected to cause prices to rise on the domestic markets as a result of local shortages of main season varieties. A likely impact for local prices will also be felt or anticipated shortage of main season varieties in the domestic market. Kenya has been expanding its avocado export business in recent years, reducing its reliance on the EU with the addition of new markets such as India in September 2023. And South Africa's state-owned telecommunications company Telkom and the country's National Research Foundation have launched R18, that's $1 million 3-year research program to foster innovation in the information and communication technology sector. The Future Technologies Future Tech program will support research grants, scholarships for postgraduate students and postdoctoral fellows, with Telkom and NRF contributing about 3 million rands each annually for the 3-year pilot phase. Funding will be earmarked for research into the network and fiber optic solutions, multimodal sensing, and the Internet of Things, virtualization, artificial intelligence, and language and speech technologies. All right, as the world now moves to accelerate that transition to cleaner and sustainable sources of energy, a report from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that dirty energy demand in Nigeria increased, looking at it from a month-on-month basis and also from a year-on-year basis. So I had a chat with Mr. Ademola Ogunbanjo, President and CEO of Wando Clean Energy earlier, and he had this to say.
We're curating our own transition ourselves. Yes, there's a global agenda that's, there's been attempts here and there to try to stamp a template of transition on the African continent. But by releasing that plan, Nigeria showed leadership, not only in commitment, but also in thinking through the process of the transition. If a group of people, group of friends, have an agenda to see the world, travel the world. And some of them are, they have the money, they're ready today to go. And some don't have the money, they're not ready today to go. You can lean on your richer friends and say, let's create one pot. I'll put my little, you put your much, and then we see the world together at the same time. But if your richer friends are not that responsive, then you can say, you know what? We'll create a different schedule. You guys go now. I'll save up for my own trip. And I will go on the trip when I can afford it. That's what I mean by Africa can actually pay our own way. We just need to ensure that we curate our own timelines, we design our own transition mix, and we invest gradually.
All right, that was Mr. Ogumbajo earlier, and definitely it's all about that just transition for Africa and even for countries just like Nigeria. But let's get a check on other markets now. We see it's mostly green on the screen, but it also seems quite mixed. If you're looking at it from another angle, we see Ethereum, that's down while Bitcoin is up. Ethereum, a big drop there, 2.18%, and Bitcoin adding about 0.71% from numbers we took earlier. BNB, $588, still looking strong. Ton, about $5.13. That's Ton, the popular one where you have all of those Telegram games. Listen, all right, let's look at the top cryptocurrencies that we track now. We see the likes of XRP, and XRP not still acting like a stable coin at this time, but yeah, there you have it. XRP, just marginal, still holding 50 cents region. It's not left there for the longest time. Cardano, 34 cents, 3.60% jump. Then we have the likes of BNB at 1.02%. But Ethereum, on the flip side, down 2.18%. We don't really see that often where Bitcoin's up, but Ethereum underperforming. That's quite new. Then we see the likes of BNB there. That's the native coin for the cryptocurrency exchange at $588. Let's look at the sentiment now. How are investors feeling? We're looking at the fear greed index. Well, they're still quite greedy here in the market. 69 points over 100. That's what we're seeing for the fear greed index. All right, let's look at the top stories now in the crypto market. We see two economists from the European Central Bank, that's the ECB, Ulrich Beinzel and Jürgen Schaaf, have issued a critical analysis on Bitcoin, warning that if in a scenario where Bitcoin prices continue to rise, the cryptocurrency poses significant risks to the society. That's according to the ECB there. Now we see India might ban Bitcoin and Ethereum. As India is planning to ban the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others to promote its own central bank digital currency, that's the digital rupee. The Indian government is exploring, this ban on privately operated cryptocurrencies, and as part of the country's digital finance plan, so that they can get more adoption for their central bank digital currency. Then we see a crypto trader lost $450,000 as he made a bet on a newly created ant by Claw. That's a meme coin, and it ended up capitulating. The investor lost about $500,000 in less than an hour. A transaction was involved in was a Solana. It was recorded on the Radium automated market maker platform, especially in ant soul trading pair. So quite a big drop there. I can't imagine losing $450,000 in just a couple of minutes or an hour. Let's bring in Emmanuel Anyasi now, crypto influencer. Hello, Emmanuel.
Hello, Ladi. Good afternoon.
Yeah, great to have you, Emmanuel. So I can't imagine. I don't think you're that trader that lost $450,000 in less than an hour. But how would you feel if you were that trader?
Well, it's a normal thing, though. It's not something new. Like him losing that kind of amount of money shows that he has actually been winning. Because for you to have that kind of mindset to go that kind big, just know that it's the game. The game is the game. Probably he has been making a lot of money, and that is this kind of entry into the market in memes. If he had gone his way, he would have been in profit. So sometimes it's not actually what meets the eye in when it comes to meme coin. $450,000 might just be like 10% of his portfolio, or maybe even 5% or that. So it's a meme market.
Hopefully that's not all of his portfolio. Hopefully.
No, it can be. Yeah, it can be, hopefully.
But do you think meme coins are still profitable at this point? You know, the meme coins, they keep coming up. They filled up coin market cap. I'm sure there are over 1 million or 2 million altcoins right there listed in the market. Is it still profitable out there?
Yeah, it's very, very profitable. Like this new platform, Pom.fund that came out, that people, even you, laddie, you don't know coding, you don't know development, you don't know blockchain, but you can just list your meme coin. It actually drove a large number of people to actually start having their own meme coin. Celebrities can have their own meme coin. Anybody can have their own meme coin. And they actually brought in their own people into the meme coin market. But when you look at it, the Bitcoin dominance is still there. Bitcoin market cap is still huge. Like meme coin market has not even done up to even 20% or 10% of the Bitcoin market cap. So that is to show you that there is more room for growth for meme coin. There is a lot to come for meme coin. Like we've seen so many big celebrities in the US, around the world, even politicians actually doing their own meme coin, bringing their own people, and some of them do well, some of them don't do well, but it's the game because you see so many meme coins actually coming out every day. Thanks to this platform, Pom.fund, you see so many of them coming out every day. But many of them, some of them do well, some of them don't do well. But it's the game. You don't enter meme coin with all your money. You enter probably with 10% or 5%, and you try different ones, and anyone that clicks. So the game of meme coin is, if one should click for you, you can be able to be much profitable.
All right, but the way I'm seeing it is, for these meme coins, it's all about who gets in first. And when you get in there first, then you make noise about it, then the coin goes up in value. Those that come in last now have to carry the bag. So is it all about getting in first and getting out on time? Is that what this game is about?
Yeah. Anything money, it's always person versus person, or whatever you want to call it. If it's stock, it all depends on your conviction or your belief. You can get in first and still sell at a very low profit. And somebody who gets in and have good conviction will hold to a something huge market cap. Bull market, we saw Shiba Inu go to like $48 billion market cap. We saw Dodge go to like 70 billion market cap. This bull season, I will not say it has begun or it has started, but we haven't seen any meme coin actually doing 10 billion or 20 billion. Dog with Art actually came close with 4 billion plus.
All right, I see Emmanuel's frozen there. He was trying to tell us about most of these altcoins with their massive market caps, like the ones that have done really well, like that of Shiba Inu, but definitely finding those profitable meme coins is definitely a headache. I don't know if I have you back, Emmanuel.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you for a moment there. But Emmanuel, we've had a couple of Telegram games that are still meme coins. They've listed, they've done the token generation event, they've distributed coins to most of the players, and now they're listed, on these exchanges. But it seems most of them are stuck in a range when it comes to price action. Do you think these listed meme coins from the Telegram games, like Dogs, what's the other one called? That's the one that gave Dust.
Hamster.
Yeah, that's Hamster Combat. Do you think they're going to have value, at some point, since they're already trading in the market?
Okay, so look at the difference between the meme coin, people like us trade, and those ones is, you see, those ones look like utility project. They start with a very high market cap. Many players will not actually want to actually jump into those ones because, like, they will say, if I hold this in, the highest this thing can do maybe 2x or 3x of my money, because it's at the very high cap. They listed at probably 600. Amsterdam got to like $1.3 billion market cap, FDV. Dog also did like over $1.2 billion FDV. People are not looking at that. People are looking at the one that we start with maybe like 1,000 FDV or maybe 300 FDV that will go to like 1 billion. Like you see like this new mover now, this new narrative, AI meme, leading by GOAT. GOAT is over 800 million. Today it got to like 900 million FDV. If you had gotten in early, there was a time it was at 20,000 market cap. These are the kind of meme coin people are actually looking for, not those ones. Like I predicted it before that those ones, they don't actually have any roots. They don't actually have any long standing because many players do not want to actually put their money and just be waiting for S2, S3. They want to go into where they can see like S100, S1000. It's a gamble for people. It's a gamble. We call them degenerates. It's just like a gamble. People will want to buy in more in low cap meme coin that will go high, form community than actually going for high market valuation meme coins.
So I guess this is a new form of gambling, at this point when it comes to
it's gambling
in the meme coin market.
Come again, please.
So I'm saying, playing in that meme coin market is straight up gambling at this point.
It's been like that. If you trace Dodge, if you know what actually made meme coins actually blow up. Remember last in 2021 when Elon Musk started buying up Dodge, pumped Dodge for over is it 10,000x? Dodge was trading around 0.0001 or so when Elon Musk started pushing it, and currently today Dodge is trading around 0.115 or 16. So it's that kind of glass to glory story that everybody wants. So that actually drove meme coin, and currently now, utility projects actually have bad, what will I say? They are not good investment currently in crypto. People are saying it that this utility project, VC buy it up, they invest in this and they buy it up and they dump on people in the sense that they are building something, they are building many utility projects, they don't have anything they are building. So meme coin is just kind of a way people actually do say, let's just participate in this cryptocurrency and don't forget about this. We are building this, we are building that. Like Elon Musk said it, that it was just like a joke. It's just like joke on cryptocurrency, like they are building this, they are building that. Like everybody know that, like most of the top players are actually just interested in Bitcoin. So any other thing is none of their business. So they don't see as other people saying we are building this, we are building the next big thing, we are building the next big thing as just a joke. So they just started doing it as meme, and it started getting fun because many people are actually gamblers, many people are degenerates. That is just how life is.
Quite interesting. So I guess it's either you're buying Bitcoin or you're buying meme coins at this time.
It's either you're buying Bitcoin or you're buying meme coin. That is only where the future is. Other ones are just waste.
All right, that's Emmanuel Anyasi. There's a crypto influencer. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Yeah, thank you, Adi.
All right, so that's the show today. That's how most of the markets we track are looking. We'll give you a summary for the close. That's the local bourse. That's later on the news at 10. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. If you want more information, just flip over to our website. You can also watch this again on YouTube. From me and the team right here at Channels HQ, it's bye for now.